So hello and welcome back to my channel. You're watching What Helen Reads and I'm Helen, and today I'm talking about Rare23London. So I'm really excited to be going to Rare23 in London, which will be my very first book signing event, and it's taking place on Saturday the 8th of July at the XL Centre in London. As this is my very first book signing event, of course I decided to do quite a bit of research. So over the last couple of months, we got tickets earlier this year, and over the last couple of months I have been doing some research. So I've been looking at what happens at book signing events generally. I've signed up to the Facebook group, so if you are going to Rare23 London, hopefully you've discovered the Facebook group and are following it there, and on that page is all the instructions about what happens, all of the authors that are going, the links to any of the authors so you can pre-order any books that you want, and just loads of people talking about their experience from previous events and what to expect. So the first thing I did was I went onto the Facebook group and I downloaded the author list in terms of all the authors that are going to be there at the event. So I went down the list, I ticked off all the authors that I'd previously read, any that I'd heard of and was already really interested in, so any authors that are already on my TBR, and then I basically started to look at all the other authors that maybe I'd never heard of, that I hadn't heard other people speaking about, just to find out what types of romance books they read and to see if any of that would be of interest to me. There are 245 authors who are due to be at this book signing event, so it is pretty big. But only 11 of those 245 authors are authors that I'd already read books from. But there was like a further probably 8 authors that were already on my TBR I was very interested in to read. So once I'd gone down this list of authors, I basically ticked some boxes so that I could identify the authors that I'd read, the authors that I was particularly interested in getting signatures from, because I want to organise my day while I'm there and make sure I definitely get the signatures from the authors that I want to get the signatures from, and also looking at their pre-order forms. So I didn't want to go too crazy. As I've said before, I don't really own a lot of physical books and I don't want to go too crazy and start buying loads and loads of books. Plus I'm very conscious of the fact that I'm travelling to London on the train and I need to be able to carry these books back with me, and so I don't want too many. I know some people have ordered 80-90 books that they'll be picking up at Rare23, but I limited myself to just 5. So I'll go through and tell you which books I've kind of pre-ordered. So like I said, I've only actually read 11 out of the 245 authors on the list. So I'm going to go through them with you now, and I'm going to tell you my thoughts about those authors and if I've got any favourite books from those, just in case you are going to Rare23 and you haven't read from these authors yourself but are interested to do so. So the first author, and probably my most anticipated meet and greet, is Elsie Silver. Today Elsie Silver has written 2 series. The first is the Goldrush Ranch series, and I actually own Off to the Races, which is book 1 in this series, and she writes contemporary small town romances, and Off to the Races is very much set around a horse ranch, and based on, you know, the horse racing industry. And in this one we have a series of jockeys, horse trainers, ranch owners, vets and that sort of thing. So if you like small town sort of cowboy sort of romances, ranches and horses, then this is a really good series I would highly recommend. And like I said, the probably the most popular series that she's done is Chestnut Springs. Heartless was the most popular. Like I said, that's the one that I've actually ordered, and I'm very lucky to also have a copy of Powerless. Now this was sent to me by Jen from the Book Refuge. I am one of her patrons, and she has a book box subscription where once a quarter she sends one of her favourite books from the quarter, and I basically picked Powerless for her to send to me. So literally this came in the post just a couple of days ago from Jen, and inside it's annotated. So I'm very excited to have this one as well. So yeah, if you haven't read Elsie Silver yet, I would highly recommend. I'm really looking forward to the next one in the series coming out later this month, in just a week's time I think. So then the second author on the list that I have read is Jade West. Now Jade West has got a lot of books out there, and I've only read one from her, and that was Bait. And Bait is a very I thoroughly enjoyed Bait. It's a very interesting story, and it's basically based on a woman who has a rape fantasy. She goes online to try and meet somebody who's like-minded and will participate in this with her. And when she's online, she meets the hero in this story, who very much is concerned about the way she's going about her request, because he feels that she might get hurt, and he offers to basically be the person who is going to pretend to stalk and rape her. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but it is a dark romance, and definitely check your trigger warnings if you want to check that one out. Then the next author that's going to be there that I've read is Jaine Diamond, and Jaine Diamond has written, again, quite a few books, and probably best known for her Dirty series. So I was in a rockstar romance phase a couple of years ago, and I started to read her Dirty series, and I've read the first 3 books in that series, but I didn't progress with that series, and I've kind of never gone back to it. So I did thoroughly enjoy them when I read them at the time, but I think, like I say, I was in sort of a rockstar romance sort of phase, and I'd read quite a few, and you know, after you've read sort of 6 or 7 rockstar romances, you kind of go off the boil a bit, don't you, and you turn to something else, and I've just never gone back to that series. So not to say I won't, but I haven't so far. So then we've got Juliette Cross. So Juliette Cross is probably most well known for her Stay a Spell series, which has also done really well in the last 12 months. I'm really excited to be meeting Juliette, and this is another author that I've pre-ordered a book from. So I've pre-ordered Wolf Gone Wild, which is the first in the series. So it's not my favourite in the series, because that was Resting Witchface, but I do like to collect things in order, and I thought Wolf Gone Wild would be a really good place to start, so that's the one that I pre-ordered. So Juliette Cross's Stay a Spell series is sort of based around New Orleans, or it's set in New Orleans. It follows the Savoy sisters, of which there are 6 sisters. Each sister gets their own book and their own romance, and basically in this world in New Orleans we have witches and vampires and werewolves, and also Grimms. And so each of the Savoy sisters, who are a group of very powerful witches in New Orleans, they each get their romances. So we have 2 werewolf romances, 2 Grimm romances, and 2 vampire romances. So it's nicely evenly spread. These are, it's a delightful series to read. It is really, really sort of homey and warm, and it's interesting because obviously the paranormal elements to it, but it's kind of got a small town feel and also kind of a found family kind of feel. There is a little bit of element of, you know, danger and darkness, but it is really, really light touch. So overall this is kind of just a very warm, heartwarming kind of series, so would highly recommend that. Then we have K.A. Knight, and again I've only read one of hers, which was Den of Vipers, and this is a very Marmite sort of book. People who have read it either love it or hate it. I really enjoyed it. It's a reverse harem sort of mafia or criminal underworld romance. It's about these 4 men who are known as the Vipers. Everyone's scared of them in the city. They kind of head up the criminal organisation. And then we have our heroine, who is her father basically owes the Vipers some money. They go to collect the debt and they take her as payment, but she absolutely gives them a run for her money. But this book, again, is not for the faint-hearted. It is a little bit wild and crazy. Some of the things that happen in here are a little bit mad. It's completely bonkers, if I'm honest, and also there's quite a lot of sexual content in here that may not be suitable for all audiences, so definitely check the trigger warnings on that one. The next one then is Linzi Baxter, and Linzi Baxter, again, I've only ever read one of hers, and I read it as an arc. So my sister loves romantic suspense, and Linzi Baxter kind of writes this sort of protector series, and the book that I read was actually book 6 in a series, so it was the last one. It was called Pursuing Monoceros. I only rated this one 3 stars. It wasn't my favourite read, but it is a short, quick read, and it was, from memory, it was basically about someone who I think the main heroine was in some sort of auction. The hero buys her. She's only supposed to be with him for one night, but he basically takes her on a plane to his island, and it turns out to be a BDSM island, but he's trying to keep her away from somebody else that also wants her. And so there is a little bit sort of like romantic suspense element, there's a little bit of danger there, but also it's kind of like focused around this BDSM island. I think maybe because it was the last book in the series that I read, I didn't kind of connect with the characters as well as I might have if I'd read them all. But like I said, I read this one as an arc, and it is a short read. From memory, it was like 200 pages or something like that, so just novella length, so a quick and easy read if you're kind of like interested in Linzi Baxter, and maybe start from book 1. Then we've got Michelle Hurd. So this is another author where I've pre-ordered a book, and I've pre-ordered Taken by a Sinner, which is the first in her Sinner series. I've read the first 3 books in this series so far, absolutely loving them, kind of like saving them, don't want to rush through them too quickly because I'm really enjoying them. And Taken by a Sinner is probably my second favourite, but the hero in this one, the hero in this first one, Nicholas, is probably one of my favourite heroes from the series, because he is super intense, and that's all I've ever said about him. He's just really, really intense and focused and completely obsessed with the heroine. And this is another Mafia series, so basically it's a Mafia series. The first book, Taken by a Sinner, is a kind of an arranged marriage situation. So the heroine becomes Nicholas's step sister because her mother marries his father, and as a result she's kind of married into the Mafia world. Nicholas, who happens to be head of the Mafia family because his father has retired, is now responsible for her safety, and as such he needs to get her into an arranged marriage. He selects his cousin to be her new husband, but as the wedding gets nearer and he gets closer to her, he realises that he's fallen in love with her, and so he doesn't let his cousin marry her. Instead he steps in and becomes a groom himself. So I thoroughly enjoyed that one. Like I say, I love Michelle Hurd, and it's one of the books that I pre-ordered. So another author that's going to be there is R.G. Angel, and I've read 2 of her books so far. Again, they're Mafia romances, and I spoke about them recently in my Mafia romance readathon vlog, particularly the second one. So the first one is Broken Prince. It's a Cosa Nostra Mafia romance, and it's also a Beauty and the Beast retelling. So I talked about that book in my Beauty and the Beast video, which I did earlier in the year, and then Twisted Night is the second book in the series, which I talked about in my romance readathon blog. I have enjoyed the series. It's not my favourite series that I've ever read, but I've enjoyed the series, and I'm very intrigued to read book 3. It's actually on my TBR, so I'll probably get to that at some point next month, hopefully before I get to Rare 23, and then I've read all of those books in the series because there's only 3 of them. Then we have Sloane Kennedy. So Sloane Kennedy writes romances, and they're also sort of romantic suspense. I've read the first 3 in her Protectors series, of which there's quite a few books in that series. Now these were recommended to me by my sister. She absolutely loves romantic suspense and sort of crime and things like that, and she really likes Sloane Kennedy, and she recommended them to me. So I read them. I thoroughly enjoyed every single book. I think they're really, really good. However, romantic suspense is not really my sort of favourite genre or subgenre of romance, so I kind of just pick one up every now and then, hence I've only read 3, but I definitely will be making my way through the rest of that series at some point. The series is set around these this group of vigilantes, if you like. So they're kind of like ex-military people that have been brought into a group by the leader of this group, and they bring justice where maybe the law can't bring justice. So like I say, it's sort of romantic suspense, but also in romances. Then we have T L Swan. So the only book I've read from T L Swan is Mr. Masters. Mr. Masters is set in the UK. He is a like a very wealthy lawyer slash barrister slash judge. Can't exactly remember what, but I think he might be a judge actually. And he needs a nanny for his kids, and basically he gets this nanny that comes over from Australia, and she's never nannied before, so she's kind of lied on her paperwork, and when she gets there, you know, it's a live-in nanny arrangement, so that she's living with him in very close proximity, and they obviously start a relationship together, but she also gets on really, really well with his kids as well. So I really, really enjoyed Mr. Masters. I didn't go on to read the next one in the series. The book that I am really wanting to read is The Takeover, which is Jen from the Book Refuge's favourite book, one of her favourite books of all time. I really want to get to that one. It's been on my TBR for ages, and I probably will get to it eventually. But T L Swan, you know, it's got a lot of books out there with some really, really high ratings and reviews, so I'm sure I'll read more from her in the coming weeks and months. And then we have Tana Stone, and Tana Stone writes alien romances, and I've read quite a lot of her books. So I've read the Tribute Brides of the Drexian Warriors series, which there's sort of like 10-11 books for that, and then Raider Warlords of the Vandar, which there was originally 6 and the 7th one has recently come out. I've not read it yet, but this is another author that I've pre-ordered from. So Tana Stone, I pre-ordered the first one in the Radio Warlords of the Vandar series, which is called Possessed, so I'll be really looking forward to picking that up. So yeah, there's not much more to say about that. They're alien romances, they're really good fun. They're sort of like, the Radio Warlords of the Vandar in particular remind me sort of the Klingons from Star Trek. It's sort of set in space, away from Earth. There is no sort of alien abduction, kidnapping going on. The humans already live in space, and it is just, you know, a really fun time. And then the last author that I've actually read, but only read recently because of my research. So as I was going down the list, I came across R.J. Scott, and when I saw this on Amazon, because I was kind of like, went on Amazon to find the authors, sort of the books that they did. She writes a lot of erotic short stories, so really, really short stories, for 20 pages, 30 pages long tops, and a whole series of them. And I was so intrigued by the first story that there and then, as I was doing the research, I picked up and read the first story. Like I say, it was only 25, 30 pages, so it didn't take me long to read at all. And it was strangely compelling, where I went on to read several more in that series of the short stories. They were wild, a little bit crazy, but I found myself unable to stop reading them. So if you want a really, really short read, like I say, just 30 pages, less really, some of them were like 20 pages, check out, and you just want kind of an erotic short story, because that's what they are, then check out R.J. Scott. Oh, and they're MM romances as well. So now we get to the authors that I haven't read yet, but as I was going through the list, they're definitely authors that other people have spoken about. These are authors that have been around TBR for a while, and I really want to make a big effort to read at least one of their books before I get to Rare23London, and therefore will probably be on my reading list for June, because I need to read them before the 8th of July. So these will probably be it. So in some ways, this video is not just, you know, the authors I've read at Rare23 and what I'd recommend, but also probably my TBR for June. So the first one that I really want to get to is Julia Wolfe. So Julia Wolfe is going to be at Rare. It's actually a book that I've pre-ordered and haven't even read, so going completely on recommendations only. I've pre-ordered Sweet Like Poison, which is book 2 in her Savage You series. I haven't read anything from her at all, but this book comes highly recommended, again from Jen from the Book Refuge. Can you tell I've got a girl crush on her? But I really, really trust her recommendations. I know she absolutely loves this book. I really, really want to get around to reading it, and I was so sure that I would love it. I have pre-ordered it because I wanted to make sure that I got a signature from Julia, and I thought if I pre-order it, then that definitely recommends I'll get to her table. As far as I know, that is a kind of a new adult romance. It's about some people set in college, and two characters that live next door to each other. They have a bit of a fling, and he just wants to go back to being neighbours, but ultimately they can't stay away from each other, they get together. So he is basically a bit of a cowboy. He is going to be taking over the ranch from his dad after he goes back home, and he doesn't want any distractions, and he certainly doesn't want, you know, he wants to make sure that he gets a lady that's prepared to go and live on the ranch with him. So it sounds amazing. I like I say, I've pre-ordered that one and hopefully I'll be able to pick that up. Then we've got Adelaide FORREST. So I can't believe I've never read Adelaide FORREST before, because she does a lot of mafia romances, which you know that I love. And so I have downloaded one of her books ready to read, which is part of the Bloodied Crime Syndicate. So I will be picking that one up. Then we have Anna Huang, who does a lot of contemporary romances. I have downloaded Twisted Love, ready to read that one. Jodie Ellen Malpass. Now I really want to read The Brit, so I've wanted to read this for a while. And then we have Lana Percherek, which she's written a series of books, the first one of which is called The Longing of Lone Wolves. I'm really interested in that one, so I've downloaded that one ready to read as well. Serena Ackroyd, so again, she is going to be there, very excited to meet her, and I think I am going to start with her 5-Point Mob series. It's an MC romance series and the first book in that one is called Nyx, so that's the one I've got my eye on. We've also got Tessa Dare going. There's quite a lot of historical romance writers going, and I was hoping to meet Stacey Reid because she was originally on the author list, but unfortunately she's had to drop out, so hopefully she'll be going to Rare 23 Edinburgh next year, and if I'm lucky I'll be able to get tickets for that. So Stacey's not going, but Tessa Dare is going to be there. I've never read anything from her, but I've got a couple of hers on my TBR, and one of them is The Duchess Steel. Then we've also got Tara DeWitt. Tara DeWitt is going to be there, and I know some people have really loved her book Funny Feelings. Now interestingly, I looked for this one because I was going to download it and read it, but it isn't on ebook. So in the UK you can't get it as an ebook on Kindle. It's only available as an audiobook or in paperback. So at this moment in time I probably won't be getting that or reading that in time for Rare 23 London, but I'll keep my eye on it in case it comes back as an ebook. A book that I've been recommended by a viewer, in fact, which is fantastic that someone's commented and suggested I read, a book by an author that's going to Rare 23, is a book called My Bloodline by K.C. Keane, and it's part of the Featherston Academy series. So I have downloaded that one. If I get around to it I will read it before Rare 23, but it's definitely on my TBR to be read at some point regardless. And then the last one is Beast by Clarissa Wilde. So Clarissa Wilde is an author that I've never read before. As I was just going through the list, I came across it and it looked interesting. She's got a lot of good reviews and everything on Amazon. Because I love Beauty and the Beast retellings, the first book is called Beast and the second book is a duet and the second book is called Beauty, then that is kind of what's hooked me into that one. So I shall be picking up and reading that. And then the last one that's on my list is Willow Winters. Yeah, so she's got the Merciless World series, which looks interesting, but what really puts me off about that one is the first book is over 700 pages, and so yeah, that seems quite a big investment for an author I'm not sure I'm going to enjoy or like. So it's on my list. I'm not sure if I'll get to that one before Rare 23 London. So there you have it. That is Rare 23 London. Some of the authors that I've already read and would recommend. I've basically pre-ordered 5 books, and then I picked out some authors that I want to get to before I get to Rare 23. So like I say, it's amazing really that there's 245 authors that are going to be there. The number of authors that I've read is literally a drop in the ocean. So one of my plans as well is to walk around and speak to as many authors as I can, find out a bit more about what they've written and see if I can pick up anything else that's interesting. But I'm going to try and stick to just the 5 books. It's going to be really, really difficult, but I do have to carry them around London. I know that some other people will probably be posting books away and they're taking trolleys or they're taking their cars so they can load up on their cars, but I will be going by train, so I need to just make sure that whatever I purchase while I'm there I can actually carry home with me. So also, as part of the preparation, because I'm not planning to buy a lot of books but I still want author signatures, I have treated myself, so I'm going with my sister and my niece, and I've treated us all to a signature book each, which I had personalised from a shop on Etsy. If I remember to link it, I'll link the shop that I bought it from down below. But basically it's this book here. It's a, like you can see, signature book, and basically I had it personalised so it says Rare 23 on the front and XL London, and then just inside it's just wire bound, it's A5 size, and it's just blank pages. But that's, then hopefully I can take that, get signatures from some of the authors I want to get signatures from, and then hopefully again it saves me buying loads and loads of books and having to carry them back with me. So that is the plan. That is the plan. I will hope to do kind of a bit of a vlog, or at least an update, once I've been to a Rare 23 in London, so look out for that later in July. But in the meantime, thank you very much for watching. If you're going to Rare 23 London, please comment down below. It'll be great to see you there. And also, if there's any authors on the Rare 23 London list that you think I absolutely need to read before I go, then also let me know, and I'll try and squeeze it in during the month of June. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. And one of those is the Dutch meat. Why has that done that? I don't know what's happened there. I got this really weird symbol on my video. It looked like it was overheating. And the battery does feel quite hot, but I've never had that before, and it's not even that hot outside. I mean, it's starting to get a bit warmer now, but I'm recording in the morning and it really isn't hot. So I don't know what's wrong with this battery. That's a bit of a worry, isn't it? Anywho, right, what was I saying? So Julia Wolf, yes. So